What Once Was Mine, Chapter 45, Tiana. Tiana rushed through the front door and stopped, dread rooting her where she stood. She pressed a hand to her chest at the sight of her father's huge body sprawled on the sofa, his head cradled in her mother's lap. His skin was ashen and wrinkled. He looked years older than he had when she'd seen him at the restaurant just an hour before. "I'll be right back," she heard Louis say, but all her focus was on her parents. Tiana hurried to their side. She knelt down on the floor next to them and took her father's hand in hers. His fingers were gnarled, the skin papery thin. "What's going on, Mama?" "I don't know," she answered. Her mother looked up at her and Tiana saw true fear in her eyes. "He was just fine when he came home. He went into the bathroom to wash up, get ready for the big night at the supper club. When he came out, his hands had wrinkled up like a dried prune. I thought maybe he'd soaked in the tub too long, and then I noticed the gray hair at his temples." The gray was no longer just at his temple. More than half of her daddy's beautiful dark brown hair was now peppered with wiry gray strands. "Hey, baby girl," he called, his voice a thready whisper. He peeped up at her with rheumy eyes. "I don't think I can make it to the supper club tonight," he coughed. "I don't know why I'm so tired." "Don't worry about the restaurant," Tiana said. "We won't be opening tonight anyway." She wouldn't explain about the bugs or the food that they'd left abandoned. None of that was important at that moment. The restaurant. The vials were there. Tiana wondered, if she gave the usual potion to him now, would his illness be reversed? "Mama, I have something that may help. I'll be back as soon as I can." She raced from the house, making it to the supper club and back home in record time. She hastened to her father's side and uncapped the smaller vial. "Here, Daddy," Tiana said, putting the vial up to his lips. "Drink this." "What's that you're giving him?" her mother asked in a panicked voice. "Just give it a few more minutes, Mama. Trust me." But could she trust Facilier to have been telling the truth? She still didn't trust the new larger concoction, but what about the one she'd been using these past months? Did this tincture really have any effect whatsoever on her father's fate? Tiana could hear her heartbeat thumping in her ears as the seconds ticked by. She zeroed in on the gray hairs on her father's head, willing them to start turning back to their dark brown color. She studied the wrinkles, ceasing his once smooth skin, praying they would even out. "Come on, come on, come on," Tiana murmured. But after several minutes had passed, it was clear the potion she had been adding to her gumbo all this time was truly worth nothing. It had been all a charade. That damn shadow man. There was a knock at the door. "You expecting somebody?" Tiana asked her mother. Eudora shook her head. She walked over to the front door and opened it. Lizette stood outside on the porch. "Tilan told me where to find you," she said. Tiana's first instinct was to turn her away, but Lizette had done nothing wrong. In fact, she helped when she had no incentive to do so. "Come in," Tiana said, moving out of the way so that she could enter. "Mama, Daddy, this is my friend Lizette. Lizette, this is my mother Eudora, and my father James." "Hello," Lizette said. Her eyes immediately zeroed in on James. "He isn't well." "No, he isn't," Eudora said. As if to punctuate her statement, James coughed again. It was hoarse and brittle and sent a chill down Tiana's spine. "He's very weak," Eudora continued. Lizette walked over to the sofa and went to touch James's forehead, but Eudora pushed her hand away. "You don't have to worry, Mama. Lizette is an herbalist. She's a healer. If anybody can help Daddy, she can." Lizette laid the back of her hand up to James's forehead, then along his forearms. She used her fingertips to gently press against his glands, starting behind his ears and traveling down his neck until she reached his chin. Tiana stood back and watched as the young girl went through the methodical assessment of her father's symptoms. "He isn't feverish," Lizette said, "but that cough doesn't sound good at all." There was another knock at the door. Before Tiana could answer it, Naveen and Louis walked in. "I brought Naveen to see if he could help," Louis said. "Thank you, Louis," Tiana said. "And I'm sorry, for earlier." She owed him that apology for being so cross, but in true Louis fashion, he seemed to have no ill will toward her. "It's okay, Tiana," Louis said. Naveen came to stand behind her. He put one hand on her shoulder and gave it another one of those reassuring squeezes. Despite all the months she'd spent avoiding him, Tiana could not have been more grateful to have him near her right now. "Where's Lottie?" she asked. She's at home, waiting for her father to return, he answered. Tiana's stomach flipped as she remembered the conversation with Dr. Facilier. He had Mr. LeBeuf and all the rest. She had no doubt about that. Tiana was determined to find them, but she had to figure out what was ailing her father, too. I don't understand what's happening, Tiana said, looking down at him. He was just cooking with me at the restaurant. How did he become so frail so quickly? I'm not sure what it is either, Lizette said, but I can whip up a tincture to help build up his strength and get rid of that cough. She gathered her skirts around her and pushed herself up to where she'd knelt next to the sofa. Here's what I'll need. She listed a number of herbs, many of which Tiana fortunately had in the kitchen. I don't know where we're going to get ivy leaves, Tiana said. There are several herbalists in the French Quarter. You may have to ask around, but I'm sure someone has some. I'll go to the quarter, Louis volunteered. Bring back as much as you can, Lizette told him. She looked down at Tiana's father. At the very least, it'll keep him comfortable. What can I do? Tiana asked. She couldn't just stand there while her father suffered. You can show me to the kitchen and help me get started. We'll have to grind the thyme and elderflower into a powder. If we get started now, we can get done by the time the scaly one is back with the ivy leaves. Tiana kissed her daddy on the forehead, then led Lizette to the kitchen. They spent the next half hour collecting and preparing the ingredients for the medicinal syrup, and once Louis returned with the ivy leaves, Lizette was able to complete the final steps. The young girl also made a broth, with the marrow from chicken bones Tiana had set aside for soup stock. Okay, Lizette said, carrying a coffee mug filled with the concoction into the living room where Tiana's father lay. Try to get him to drink at least half of this. After handing the mug to Eudora, Lizette joined Tiana, Naveen, and Louis, who all stood by nervously, watching James sip the steaming liquid. In just the hour since she'd returned home, her father seemed to have aged another 10 years. Spots dotted his hands and forearms, and the skin around his mouth and eyes had wrinkled even more. Tiana placed a hand on Lizette's forearm. Thank you. Now it's just rest and prayers, Lizette said with a shrug. I wish I could do more. Maybe Tilan can help. Tiana hesitated. Tilan isn't a bad person, and I don't like you thinking she is, Lizette said, as if she could read Tiana's mind. Miss Rosalind, lied to me, Tiana said. If she did, then she had good reason, Lizette jutted, her chin towards James. Let's just watch over your daddy for now. And that was exactly what they did all night long. Tiana, her mother, Lizette, Naveen, and even Louis sat in the tiny living room, keeping vigil under her father's steadily weakening body.